Hey everybody, welcome to the Gundam Card Game World Championships. It's been an incredible first year of Gundam in this space at Bandai, and let's celebrate with some of the best players in the world. I am Joe Brown, joined by UniX here for our top 8 match. Uni, as I said, it's been awesome. We love Gundam, and we're going to get to see it at its highest level right now.
Oh, yes. With the introduction of GDO3 Steel Requiem, we had an explosion of the color purple. And now it's gone from kind of just like fun, sort of competitive to meta dominating. And so it really is just kind of a race to see whether you're playing this purple aggression deck or whether you have the spice to outplay it. And so I would definitely say the theme of this World Championship is Purple Rain, I guess. That is it's really, really strong and it's really interactive. So I'm excited to see how these matches play out.
Yeah, for sure. And even how different players are going to be able to play the same or pilot the same deck differently, right? Where you have most of the similar core between the same cards in your 50 cards, but with the access to 10 card sideboards at the World Championship, I think that's what really helped separate these deck builders and their strategies.
Indeed. Yes. So we're actually about to shift over to another part right here, just displaying the bracket. We can see all 8 of the competitors here, and we are actually going to be showing you guys the match between Jay and Jace today. And we have their deck lists able to be shown, and we're actually about to have a matchup between what I believe is the purple aggro and then a red-blue control deck.
Yeah, this should be a pretty fun one because both of these decks will have answers into each other. Jay being the only North American representation in top 8 here, as well as Jace from Singapore. So, gonna start that Blurple train off right away in this top 8 match.
Indeed. So it is kind of interesting when it comes to what we're looking at here. If you're not playing Blurple, you have a little extra of a barrier to getting through to your gameplay. You have to make sure that you hit your removal on curve because most of these decks are red based if you aren't playing Blurple. And then on top of doing that, you still have to stabilize and close out the game, which we all know can be a little rough when these Blurple decks can provide boards out of almost thin air. You clear their board only for them to hit a Corsica to make 2 Leo tokens, followed up by, a 2-drop and then maybe a 1-drop, and then before you know it, you're looking at 4 attacks when you only have like 2 shields. So it can be a little hectic when you're trying to play the control route.
Do also want to say we are providing English commentary for this match. So thank you for the Japanese broadcast covering the games for us to have a chance to be able to watch. But this is the matchup, Uni. Jay from North America, Jace from Singapore saw the blue-purple Barbatos, or Blurple, as we all like to call it, versus the blue-red damage control from Jace. And this is, we'll see when we get to his deck list. It'll be a little bit different than the other blue reds that you've seen in the meta in this set, but 2-1 versus Jay going undefeated through Swiss.
And just for you guys, a quick refresher, the way this did work, the World Championships was a 3-round Swiss event with the 2 1s and above going through to the top cut. So those are the qualifying rounds that you're seeing below. Now, moving over to the purple deck from Jay's side, you are seeing what we are pretty much establishing as the quintessential Blurple build. You've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have about 6 1-drops that are 2/2s, and then you have, 8 here, and then you have the gun cannons or the gun tanks able to come in and ping. You have the monster that is Barbatos Adept, and then when it comes to the sideboard, because the main board is pretty much flush, the sideboard, it brings in white base in order to have a bit more longevity against these things that are going to actually destroy your board. You have the suppression in the Barbatos LR from the starter deck, and then you also have a little top-end removal in Lupus. What do you think about this deck?
I love the top end in Barbados personally. I've tried to play it, not to as much success, obviously, as the low to the ground variant of Blurple that have been dominating the meta. But the perfect environment to bring the Barbados Lupus or the 4th form is in this side deck situation, right? You don't have to quote unquote waste a spot in your 50 in your deck on a Lupus that you might only need to play in one of maybe your four different matchups matchups that you're going to face. So I think it makes total sense to have all the little guys, right, the little bodies that you want to be as fast as possible, and then adjust throughout the best of 3 set with the high end sideboard.
Of course, because as we go later in the game, if your opponent does stabilize, they're generally playing better units than you pound for pound. So it's really cool to see this sideboard move into those better units. And when it comes to this deck, I'll let you take it away since I kind of yapped a lot about the first one.
Yeah, so this is the blue-red control deck, and so the one of the main points is Marita Cruz and Kshatriya for anyone who is familiar with how red-blue operates. But this is a little bit of a variant that maybe the World Championships allows with the access to the sideboards compared to the regular red-blue that just focuses a lot on the seed package and helping out Kshatriya instead. But this time around, having some access to Hathaway units and Hathaway pilots from the starter deck, like Hathaway Noah, as well as that 9 cost unit that it lowers its cost for if you don't have a level 6 unit on your side of the field, for every one of your enemy units, it's actually going to be cheaper to play, and it just comes in, especially with the Hathaway Noah pilot. If you can link them the same turn, it's just wreaking havoc.
And when it comes to this deck, there's a clear divide in terms of how it switches gears. The first phase of the game is almost using nothing but exclusively ping commands, and then you shift into nothing but haymaker heavy hitters. So it's going to be interesting. The name of the game is whether or not Jace can draw his cards in sequence to have that first phase of board removal and control, followed by the second phase of just incredible heavy-bodied aggression with burn attached to most of these units. So this is going to be very interesting to see, and I, for one, cannot wait to see how this match turns out.
All right, so let's get into it. Remember, this is a best of 3 top 8 matchup between Jay and Jace. Going to have Jace going second, having access to that EX resource, which could definitely help on the blue-red side. You want to go second because you got to get to those high levels as fast as you can.
But having the turn first, the going first over on Jay's side, he was able to deploy 2 grays. And that's an explosive start, because that EX base is about to either evaporate, or the turn from Jace coming up, he'll have to just hold up his resources to just get rid of one of these, not 2.
And that's exactly what Jace is going to go on here, keeping his two regular resources available, which would have access to a close combat, which would stop one of the swings from Graves, would do 2 damage to it. Oh, but instead actually using the pilot or the command of Nicole to do 2 damage to a unit if it has 2 AP, which that's all Graves needs. So that is going to keep the EX base around through this turn. And that's exactly what Jason wants to do, Uni. He wants to just have some of those combat tricks on his turn, playing on defense, trying to bait his opponent into certain attacks that are going to fail.
Yes, and this is where you can see the hands kind of shape up. Jace needs to keep drawing removal until he's about at level 5 and can start playing the bodies that clear. Because as it stands right now, he's only got 1 improved technique. And while that will stop the Hyakurin from being able to put motion on the board, he's still, unless he wants to pop his EX resource the following turn, he still needs 2 turns of clearing the board, or at least keeping it manageable before he can start to stabilize. Jay is going to end up playing out 2 bodies, both another Hyakurin and an Anksha for momentum, just to make sure that he's flooding and potentially keeping Jace in a very uncomfortable position.
Yeah, because Jay understands that these units are not long for the battle with how much removal Jace has access to. So you don't care about losing the ping damage that Anksha could have provided if Jace had a unit down, because Jace doesn't have any units on the field to do so. Better to get that attacker to be able to be there. And one of the hardest parts for blue purple is, when you do have all your little bodies out and you're going at life, and then they are able to burst out a big base that you're going to have to waste your attacks into. You might want to have some of those stronger level units or stronger AP units than the 2/2 weenies that are usually flooding the board.
Correct. And this is what I think to be one of the most rough parts about playing this matchup. His draw for turn looked to be a big G-Quux, and that is an unplayable card for many turns. Not only was it unplayable, but it forced him to have to choose between ripping the Kshatriya and Marita and burning his EX resource, putting these other cards in his hands further out of reach, or to make a suboptimal play in order to keep his EX resource to have all of his gas hit a turn sooner. Now, going into his life, it is fortunate for Jace that a Relula came out, preventing the Hyakurin from getting in another shield, but also putting a little bit of damage on the Greys, potentially allowing a bigger blowout. But Jay is going to play out his Barbatos first form and then pair it with Mikazuki to run through the base regardless while getting a card to his hand and allowing the Hyakurin to actually get in towards shields. This is a crazy shift of momentum.
That is every Blorba player's dream, to link the Barbatos first form and Mikazuki on the same turn. And it broke the base, exactly what we were talking about, Uni. We were saying you need some of those stronger attackers in case a base triggers out of the shields, and that's exactly what it was. It also gives you hand advantage, right? Because if first form is damaged while it's attacking, you draw one card. So Mikazuki can place that one damage on your own unit to get that advantage. That's why this deck, you don't have to run out of cards in hand as often as some of the other aggro decks of different colors because of your draw power.
Correct. And now that he is at this level of resources, we are going to see the Kshatriya and the Marita play. It almost feels like a little too late, but it's not quite there yet. We are getting the Messer type 02 Landmire, Mind Layer going in on one of the bodies, and the Kshatriya clearing up the entire field, taking a little damage, swinging over one of these, but getting rid of Barbatos and the Greys at the same time. This is the best play he could have had momentum wise. And next turn, he's going to be able to actually follow up with if he doesn't have enough for the Banshee Marita play, but he is going to be able to play out more bodies going up to, I believe, level 7.
Now, Jay, with the Show of Resolves, draw 2 cards, having 2 Amuros, as well as a Corsica base and another Anksha in hand, but does not, or it does also have the RX-78, right? The main combo that Amuro Ray loves, but because Jace is already rested, you don't get any value out of resting those together. Just going to play out the O Gundam and Anksha again. Now the Kshatriya, though, that was a pretty big sigh of relief for Jace, though, to be able to clear the board. You can take a breath. I know it looks bad. Your Jay hasn't even lost his EX base yet, and you're down to 2 shields. And but now you can, because you're hitting those higher levels, you can play a unit out and a battle of aces, right? Play a unit and a close combat or improved technique. Now you have the resources available.
Correct. And right now it is a little rough. It's not as if Jace's hand is the most liquid with 2 Kasi Gundams as well as 2 G Quacks. He still has a bit of time until he can really play out these cards. Now, on top of that, he does have another stealth stratagem, allowing him to destroy the O Gundam if he needs to. But outside of that, we're still a little ways off from Marita Banshee. And there is, like you said, a lot of HP that is just currently, or a lot of shields that is currently sitting there between him and victory. And that's a lot of time for Jay to work.
Now the EX base is taken out, so Jace has finally done some bit of damage, some bit of destruction to Jay's side there, and getting 1 damage ping down from Marita and Kshatriya attacking. But on this turn, I think it is level 7, as you were saying. So how does he want to handle this? It will be the Nicole command again to do 2 damage to a 2 AP. And so pretty much all the Blurple little weenies are going to get taken out by that. And that's a pretty cool tech that I like for this format, because you don't see that card being played too often. But since there's so many 2/2 bodies, it's just basically for 1 resource, KO a mini unit.
Yes, and it is going to be a little rough. He wanted to get that stratagem out of the way before his opponent could play a pilot under it, potentially, that would put it out of the reach of stealth stratagem. So that was a very good read, just making sure that he could get his cards in while they were valid. Now, the hard part about this is that both his Kshatriya as well as his Banshee are kind of up for grabs, but they would force trades from the units that attack into them. So it wouldn't necessarily be the worst for Jace if Jay decided to go into his units, but he is opting to go into shields and just make sure that this game closes out quickly. Now, this is a very, very interesting play here. He's just playing the Corsica out to get the tokens. The reason why I said this is interesting isn't because I think this is like a revolutionary play of all time. It's what happens next. Because if he plays out Gundam and Amuro and then attacks into shields, I am not quite sure why he played out the token first, because that's just risking a burst robbing you of your token. But if he doesn't, then I definitely understand the setup turn.
Yeah, exactly. If they did burst a close combat or battle vases or something like that, your token is going to be in trouble. But now by using 2 more resources to play the O Gundam, and looks like the Mikazuki pilot is going to go down into that spot as well to do an additional damage to the Kshatriya, taking it out. Now that's, I guess, a middle ground play instead of committing to the Amuro Grandpa combo, just getting rid of Kshatriya, but still having multiple units that kind of act as bait. If all Jace wants to continue using the combat cards in his hand to do 2 damage here, place 3 damage here, you'll still have other units that can swing at the shields.
Correct.
So
And this
Jace,
is
go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's you, sir.
Yeah, so on his end, we see actually has a lot of cards in hand. That's how I just was going to bring out the hand advantage that Jace has over Jay.
Yes, and one thing that is really cool, some people may be a little confused about why the Mikazuki went under the O Gundam. It wasn't going to necessarily end something, but what really did get put into play there is that he saw the stealth stratagem go into effect, and he's trying to make sure that no matter what, he has game on board the following turn. So putting the Mikazuki under the O Gundam makes it 4 AP, meaning that stealth stratagem cannot hit it with its 2 AP threshold. So then we're finally up to G-Quux levels, and we're seeing it get played, burning out that, but then we have the Amuro Gundam link for game after breaking that last shield.
Really smart to attack with the token first to see if a base would be triggered out of the shields. Doesn't see it there, goes in with the patented combo and wins game 1. Jay, 1 game away from going on to top 4. I do think that they did show these decks off like very well. We kind of saw Jace started to pick up some steam as it went on, but when you start double grays custom and when you play 2 anxious without even pinging anything, like at a certain point Jay just had too many units for Jace to deal with.
Indeed. And right here, what we are seeing, likely coming from this sideboard, we know we're facing aggro. So right off of the bat, you're going to want to end up putting in potentially your 2 other stealth stratagems in order to lower your curve. Your mining asteroid Paleo is also going to be a base that just provides so much more, because unless they have Amuro and Gundam, they won't hit the AP thresholds to beat that 6 HP with just 1 swing. On top of that, you have 2 Rizels in the sideboard that are really going to allow you to get active and just press more damage against these small bodies. And then you might even see the all range attacks coming in just to make sure tokens can be cleared efficiently. I think actually the entire 10 cards of the sideboard, actually 9 out of 10, because I'm not sure if the second Banshee goes in, but at least 9 of these 10 cards are immediately impactful for this matchup.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of the sideboard. I'm really excited how the future of Gundam can go with 10 card sideboards, because you're able to construct your deck in multiple facets. One in the low to the ground, like you see on this purple end for Jay here, but then having the top end in the sideboard available. I think on his perspective, you probably don't need to switch up too much, especially since you did win game 1. It's not like Jay is necessarily threatened to try to switch up the game plan, right?
Yeah, I think if anything, it's just your fatal strikes. Your fatal strikes at 2 can come out. They're not really effective in this matchup. You can take out the 2 fatal strikes and you can put in the white base. It gives you another base to potentially protect yourself against the suppression G-Quux that is at the top end. But also, while they're trying to establish board control, they're not generally attacking your base. And if that's the case, then every turn you can just put 2 of your resources towards making another token. And then on top of that, you can take out the other fatal strike for maybe just another, maybe the Ryusei Go, just to be able to have another 2/2 body. It's going to filter, helping you get into other cards. So yeah, like you said, not really many changes.
And then on Jace's side with this red blue version, I do think you put those other stealth stratagems in, as you were talking about, because they do so well into probably about 25% of Vorpal's entire unit base, and maybe take out some of your high end, maybe one of those level 9 Chi Gundams.
hmm I mean, yeah, it's kind of weird because that card is so good against this deck, but they have to be high rolling for it to come out fairly early. And if Blurple is high rolling, I don't think C Gundam is going to necessarily save you. But in a controlled environment where they just have, four bodies on board maybe, and you are getting up to like five or so, you can play that. You can come down with it, blow something up, and that's really really cool. But yeah, I do think that about nine of those cards probably just immediately slot in order for you to take care of their low to the ground aggression. So this is going to be interesting because I do feel like Jace has more gas in his sideboard than for this matchup than Jay has in his for this.
For sure, yeah. It seems like Jay would be likely to just stay fully committed to that first strategy that played out in game one. It'd be the most effective into this red blue control deck that you want to get a bunch of hits in early, because even when Jace started bringing the game back around, when he started making even, he had that Kshatriya play where he cleared Jay's entire board in one turn. It was still all six shields and the EX base versus two shields. It was just like by the time you feel good about yourself, you're already just way too far on the back foot.
Yep, and it is just rough seeing the that white base came in. Okay, read collected. But no, realistically, it's just very rough to be that far back in the advantage because you don't just have to worry about their shield lead. You have to worry about potentially giving them a burst from there that's a pilot they need to close out the game when you only have two shields or one shield. And so it gets very, very scary to give them any cards. You have to kind of take a measured approach, and sometimes you still end up giving them what they need to end the game. So it's just that life lead is scary, especially when you're facing a deck this fast.
We see on Jay's end that he is going second by having the EX resource this time around. Do you think, from your perspective, if you were red blue, so you'd want to switch it up and try to not necessarily just take first for your own tempo, but also to take Blurple off of first, which it does prefer?
Yes, going first actually does give a shift in resource management. I mean, when you look at your ladder, they can only play a one drop on. They'll play a one drop out on the first turn, and it won't break your EX base. Then you can prevent them from playing out from being able to destroy your EX base the next turn by having a 2-cost ping spell. And you see that one drop coming out here, and then you go to 3 naturally, and that puts you right at the ability to run improved technique. So you can see in his hand, he's already kind of got the ladder up in order to stop this damage from happening.
Going to have the O Gundam as well. So the EX base brought down to 1 HP remaining, and playing out the gun cannon just like Angsha in game one. You don't care about not pinging anything. You just want bodies to go into the shields.
Correct. He's not going to be playing bodies for a good amount of time, and when they do start coming out, like really start coming out, singular ping damage isn't really going to affect them. So just making sure that you get out the bodies so that when you break the EX base, you can really start wreaking havoc is going to be good. But what we have here is now the ability to use stealth stratagem, getting rid of that graze, and that gun tank is not long for this world. There is still a fair amount that his opponent can do, but this is a much better controlled curve. We are about to see we got 2 turns until that Kshatriya Marita is live. This mine layer is going to take care of the gun tank pretty efficiently, but we are seeing a Hyakurin from Jay and then a pass. And to be fair, if we see an improved technique come off the top of the deck, we're just in there. But instead, we see another Kshatriya. Not exactly the worst, considering that there's 2 Maritas and 2 Kshatriyas in hand.
Yeah, definitely nice for Jace to maybe do some back-to-back Marita Kshatriya plays there. And Jay not committing the Barbados first form, I was thinking, because he does have the Barbados, the adapt in hand to ping it on the following turn after you play it. But I think maybe was also worried about potential improved technique like you were talking about.
Yeah, or close combat, because there's a lot of things that can touch that. Now, this is a very interesting play. He's playing out the Gundam just to put the body on board. He's not willing to play out his Barbatos first form until he's able to attack with it and get the draw. And just going into this particular turn, oh, wait a second, he might be flooding out right now. Okay, you got the Adept. Just getting some extra damage on here. But this is going to be a very, very interesting turn because we're about to see the repair go off, and it doesn't even matter because the Battle of Aces came out before the turn was finished to clear it up. That is a massive momentum loss. We just saw Battle of Aces come down before repair could go into play, and then on top of that, we do have a Kshatriya turn, and we have the potential to clear quite a lot. We're gonna get this trade with the Hyakurin and it's Red Buddy, the Messer Tycho 2. And then I just call them Rizal clones, but I understand.
Exactly.
Now,
yeah, 100.
we have to, we have to make a choice, and it is just going to be a Kshatriya. It isn't the full value, but we are going to be able to put 2 damage on Barbatos Adept and get rid of the EX base. And now the following Kshatriya is likely going to be able to rid that card completely. And with a Kshatriya on board, unless we see a pilot here, which off the top of the deck we most certainly do. We weren't. This is going to be still a little interesting, just because the fact that Gundam cannot boost Barbatos Adept to clear Kshatriya. It'll only have 3 damage going in. So if he wants this Kshatriya off the board, he's going to have to crash Gundam into it, which is not the worst, but it does offer a loss of momentum. And the next Kshatriya is going to go in next turn, and that's a burst. I'm not gonna kind of dance around it. These are good effects that are happening, but so far Jace has not been able to get the full effect out of any of his widespread ping effects.
Jay is going to commit the link yet again here to have Grandpa or RX-78 Gundam attack the first turn. Just easier to say, and going right into the Kshatriya, clearing the board. But I really like that. If I'm Jace's end, the last couple of turns have worked out really well. Jay had to expend his EX resource, so he no longer has the resource advantage. Look at the card. Look at the hand. The hand size 6-2 currently. Yo. You still have a Marita Kshatriya play available, and if you're counting what's in Jay's trash at this point, he has used 2 of those RX-78s already.
Yes, and he just hit a mining asteroid to find the other mining asteroid. He is actually opting to play Kasi Gundam to just on deploying give 1 enemy unit some damage, and he definitely just finished off Barbatos with it. So the all range attack coming out of the burst really did kind of set up this play, and it allowed him to conserve his Kshatriya Marita play. And this is going to be monumental because the following turn, we're actually going to see multiple shields. We're going to see the base leave and the shield leave. We are seeing white base. We are seeing it being activated to make the Gundam token. And now we have to see what's going on from here. Is this going to be the Ryusei Go to give it a ping? This is risky because if he plays out this Ryusei Go, no matter what he pings, he's potentially making it easier. Pinging the Gundam makes Kshatriya a blowout next turn. Pinging the Ryusei Go, we're probably going to miss the Ryusei Go a lot less than the Gundam, which is exactly what conclusion he came out to. You have to play around that second Kshatriya dropping. It's been enough turns, and you really have to worry about where your ping is going each and every time you need to hit one of your own units.
Yeah, at this point, Jay has to, kind of be in fear through how much Jace has been able to get through his deck that the Marita Kshatriya play is available. The Ryusei Go did get the draw power if you put 1 damage on one of your units to draw a card too. Even if it does get KO'd before it's even able to attack next turn, it still did get some value. But now with such a low hand size on Jay, there's only 2 cards in hand compared to the amount of resources Jace has available. Like you don't mind playing out Kshatriya and Marita Cruz to ping these units just like we're seeing there, because you still have such a big advantage of your bodies on board, swinging into the white base there, getting rid of it, and also putting another counter onto the token.
Yes, and what we're seeing right here is after using the Ryusei Go to ping and then draw one, discard one, because he had white base on the board, he had to bank on using white base for its longevity and its token creation, so he got rid of his Corsica. Unfortunately, there was no way to ensure that his opponent had another way to link and immediately destroy the white base, but it did happen. So now we don't have white base nor Corsica. He drew the Gundam NT1, joining his hand of, I believe, Barbatos' fourth form from the starter deck, the LR, along with the first form LR. And none of these are able to link. There's not a lot of motion on this board. He can't break base, and that Gundam does not trade with either Kshatriya or Kasi Gundam, but it will be destroyed immediately when he attacks with Kshatriya. On top of that, what's worse for him is that not only is he loaded with bases and can keep himself protected for quite some time, but we should be getting close enough to Banshee's effect being live, and that will just end the game.
Checking out Jace's trash to see how many Maritas have you played, how many improved techniques, how many Battle of Aces, right? There's just so many potential threats that I think Jay understands that it's kind of a disadvantage for whichever unit he wants to put onto the field because of that lack of link, like we're talking about, the lack of the ability to control Jace's board with anything meaningful this turn. That it's almost like whatever you put down is just going to get hit back with something in response.
Correct. And what we did just see there was not only was he just looking to see what ping spells had already been played, but he also was counting trash, because whenever you are playing against blue-red and you see the Marita in the deck, you have to understand that Banshee Marita is still one of the most devastating plays in the game. Pinging something twice, pinging multiple cards once each, and then also just attacking twice with first strike. That's either going to annihilate your board or potentially just close out the game. And I do believe he was only at 7 or 8 cards. It was a little hard for me to count, but if everything on the board goes right now, 1, 2, 3, 4 cards, he is only a card or so away from being able to use Banshee's effect. So you have to be cognizant of that. We're getting a swing into shields. Oh, giving him a Mikazuki. That's a great.
That's pretty huge if the first form can make it through the turn here. Getting an Amuro, so back-to-back pilots bursting out of the shields, and just like that gets 2 cards added to his hand. But now we're going to on deploy do 1 damage. The poor first form, its only downside is it has 2 HP, so it's actually very easy to take out.
Yep, and then we just got the fielding of that C Gundam, like you said, destroying the first form. We do see that he had a Mikazuki. He got a Mikazuki and he got an Amuro. So you're not really in a scary place right now, but you are a little worried because, I mean, any unit off the top of his deck can potentially be a really good place. And since he already has one of the more expensive units on his board already, he can follow up with literally anything. There is a possibility here. I mean, with what's going on in the game, I don't think at any point you'd consider full sending it and just attacking into the base and then suppressioning too when you actively have game on board. Well, your opponent has game on board. But I do think this is a good opportunity to try to make some good trades.
Yeah, at this point, both players are pretty much having to reverse roles here, and now Jay is the one trying to clear Jace's board, where for the first game and a half all we've seen is the red-blue player trying to clear Borpool's board every time. But if, as you mentioned, if you just go at life like the normal strategy is, then all 3 of those units would have been able to just clear out the game for Jace to force a game 3. So just going to put the Amuro down, asking again, counting how many cards in the trash there. Don't know if he's at 12 yet, but it's definitely close. Something that Jay definitely has to be worried about, and will trade the NT Amuro into Kshatriya, and that might put him at 12.
Yeah, I think he is about 10 right now. I want to say he's 10 right now, but yes, the C Gundam I wasn't able to see was at a low enough HP pool for Gundam NT1 to ping it for 1 and then get the draw, which is a great momentum play. Now we're starting to see Jace flood out a little bit, and that is a little unfortunate. However, if he is at 10, I'm not sure if it's a risk he wants to take, but he could force his amount.
It looks like it is 10. Yeah, he was counting it by 2s.
Okay, so if he's at 10, he does actually have the ability to play out double mining asteroid and force Banshee into liveness. But if he was going to commit to that play, I would attack into the shields first to make sure it's not a base.
I
And
just
then you
appreciate
have the
I was just saying, I just appreciate how both cars there, both players are really, they just appreciate each other's trash, right? Because it's not just Jace that has to hit a certain number. It's also Jay in this matchup with the sideboard having access to Barbados for fourth form by being able to put all those Tekkadan units back into the bottom of your deck to deal ping damage that way. So Jace is also concerned about Jay's trash.
Indeed. And I love when this happens just because like I am at first and foremost a competitor, and then I got into content creation, but I am seeing the line. So he just hit a mining asteroid to force a mining asteroid into the trash, and he has the ability to hit this again and then just force the Banshee. However, if that last card in shields is indeed another base, then this play would be the end of the game potentially. So you have to be very, very careful about that. He will have enough. He can't know this, but there is a link waiting in Jay's hand. So the question he's having here is, does he risk it for the biscuit? Is he going to play out one more base to force Banshee count and then try to end game?
This is top 8 of the World Championships. You're already down one game from Jace. Your back is against the wall. I feel like at this point, you got to do something to take out the top deck in the format. So it might be worth the risk there. But instead, going for the damage into both of, or excuse me, just into the RX 78 there. Plays down the Banshee with the Marita link going towards shield, doing one damage onto RX 78. And is that counting? This sequencing is very important. You have to count and put the 12 cards back because it's on attack. Put 12 cards back into the bottom of your deck and then restand. So very important to do that first. But this could be really scary for Jay.
Yes, and this is a thing where he definitely didn't play the second base because he wanted to reserve the amount of cards in hand, or the amount of cards in his shields. But this is also going to be a very nice play because he's going to hit this and the Mikazuki, so that's game. That is game right there. But I do want to point out that if that was not game, he would be able to rest one for Relula and put the third damage on Gundam. And that is a huge important thing because he had one resource left over. So resting that one resource, playing out the Relula, the Gundam already had one damage on it from all range, a second damage from Banshee's first attack. It would get a third damage from Banshee's second attack. And then he could, if that was a base, follow up with the removal of the base with the last attack. That's the third damage, and then he would be able to play Relula to get the fourth damage on Gundam, leaving his opponent with just 2 cards in hand, drawing into a third, with Barbatos on board with Suppression live. So at most, with that hand, his opponent would be able to play out, he wouldn't know it, but play out the Barbatos with the Mikazuki, get the ping off, and then he'd be able to break base and then use Suppression with the other one, which wouldn't be enough to close out game. So that was a masterful way to sequence that from Jace.
Yeah, really nice call out for you or by you to notice how he was playing that turnout because even if it was a base in the shields that we were worried about, as you're mentioning, trying to cover all of his bases, no pun intended, by not losing the game in response. Because I know you've experienced, I've experienced, everybody watching who's played the Gundam card game, you've definitely gone for game and they hit a base out of shield and then you lose on the crackback on the next turn, right? So that's something that Jace even though he won that match, he's definitely faced that off before.
Yup, good old reliable striker pack coming off the top rope to end your game push and give them the body they need to swing for a game the next turn. It's wild. But we are looking at this again. They're looking at the sideboards, making some adjustments. If I was on Jay's side, I would kind of question potentially the validity of the Barbatos fourth forms. Like they almost gave him a route to game, but at the end of the day, they did sit kind of bricked up in his hand. He was able to play out one, and the other one just sat there. Like I said, one more turn, and it would have given him the path to game, but it did feel like it was a little too slow there. Meanwhile, on the other side, I'm not sure if Jace needs to change anything. Like, every card that he put in work. He was able to see a stealth stratagem very early. That was great. He was able to hit with the all range attack from burst, and he was also, it's great. And he saw one from his life again and was able to use that to great effect. So everything that he used from his sideboard came into play there.
Yeah, I think really masterfully done, and really showing why sideboards are so effective, not just in just a Gundam card game, but in card games in general. They're able to swing the matchups differently. The other big factor there, obviously, was that Jay was playing off the preferred curve by going second, and then having to expend the EX resource so early in that game just to try to keep up instead of keeping the level advantage for a lot longer of a time, definitely put Jay behind.
Correct. They're definitely now we're going to be able to switch the turn again, but it is very clear to see that both of these decks would like the same turn priority in terms of curve. And now it's going to be put back into Jay's court again, and we have to see if Jace can pull off some magic like he did in this game, or whether or not it's going to be a repeat of the first.
And I do agree with you about the Barbados fourth form maybe not necessarily being as valuable. I can understand Jay's perspective of if he's gonna have units that can ping my characters or my board, I also want to have that with the Barbados fourth form and the Lupus and fourth form having a big suppression ender. But I don't know if he brought Lupus because we didn't see it in hand. But I think I would have, especially since you are going to be able to go back on the going first curve, probably taking those out of your deck and putting them back into the sideboard.
Yes, I can agree with that as well. It's very interesting. There is an argument for him keeping it in going first, because realistically, one more turn, and if he didn't hit that, if he didn't get the second all range attack off of that mining asteroid, like both of them were in shields, he would have effectively been able to close out game the following turn specifically because of those Barbatos fourth form. So it's a little rough. It's kind of hard. I'm just going to assume that testing with sideboards, he's had enough games to realize when a card is a little slow versus when a card is just wasn't positioned well that game. So we shall see. But we're getting a mulligan from Jace's side. And looking at Jay's hand, I can see a Ryusei Go. We've got a Barbatos Adept. We've got a Hyakurin, and it looks like 2 first forms. No pilots, but there's a lot of room to work there. And depending on the setup, we may actually see some action like playing out Barbatos first form, and then following that with the Ryusei Go the following turn if it survives, and then trying to attack in. And hoping that you don't catch the massive blowout of a close combat in hand.
Yeah, I was going to say, that would be the dream, is if you can leave, if Jay can have his Barbados first form get onto the field. But the moment it's played out, from Jason's perspective, it's like, I will use any and all resources available to get rid of that unit so that you could not get any draw power. It might also even be worth it. It might sound crazy, but to not play the first forms on curve, wait until you have 4 resources and double out so that it'll be harder for him to take care of both at once.
100%. And this is a dangerous game to be playing. We're getting a lot of draw passing. However, the one thing to say about this is all it takes is a singular 1 cost, which he's not getting. But when he does get to 4 resources the following turn, he will be able to play out 2 bodies with Jace only having the ability to answer 1. And that's where things start shifting. So playing this out is going to be a very, very good thing. There's like a lot. I know it's cliche, but there's layers to this. Playing out Hyakurin right now forces Jace to have improved technique going into next turn, or to pass it. And if he has improved technique, he is going to get rid of the Hyakurin, but he's going to be tapped out. All of his resources are going to be rested for when Jay can play out 2 bodies at once. And that's going to be the tit for tat.
Yeah, this is a big play for Jay, because Hyakurin can destroy the EX base, which is exactly what it shows off here. Jace does not counter that hit. So maybe now Jay adjusting his turn as Jay still has those 3, potential 4 resources with that EX available for combat tricks in hand, like close combat, or maybe improved technique like you're talking about. Is attempting to use 2 resources, and it will be adjustment, not the double first form play like we were thinking. Instead, the Ryusei Go putting 1 damage on itself, drawing 1 card, and Jay understanding like, hey, I'd rather get this 1 guaranteed draw card than I double commit to the first forms, and he still finds a way through it.
And what a card to draw, because we have seen him now get a Gundam. And now we can kind of test the waters. He has 3 first forms in hand, so it wouldn't necessarily be the absolute worst to try to just play out one and see if it immediately gets like taken. Now, the rough part about this is, again, you're playing against red. He has a very healthy hand. Playing out a Barbatos right now means that you're about to get in-phased for both of your cards outside of the Hyakurin. So he really has to decide what he wants to do, and it looks like he's opting to be able to keep bodies on board, playing out the Barbatos Adept, not pinging anything because there's no targets on the other side of the field. You need to resolve as much of the effect as possible. But here is the kind of issue here. He's only able to hit 1 thing. So he's going to put some damage on the Hyakurin, and he's going to get rid of the Ryusei Go in the first place. And now he's going to be open to at least hitting the Hyakurin at worst case scenario with the Battle of Aces. But he also has the Relula to just play out and get the Hyakurin off the board. So Jace is playing very well defensively, and Jay is testing the waters, trying to see what's going on. Because right now with the EX resource, he knows that Jace has to hold that for as long as possible.
There's a Relula to do 1 damage to an enemy unit, taking out the Hyakurin, not getting another swing at the shields, using up this level 5 turn, using 2 resources to play that base passing, so keeping 3 resources up. Back over to Jay. His hand is really, really solid at this point. 2 RX-78s, 3 Barbatos first forms, as well as an Amuro pilot and a Mikazuki pilot. So I think that also factored into him not playing out the first form last turn, Uni, is that he doesn't need to, because any turn he wants to play one out, he can just get the link immediately and draw a card.
Yes, and he definitely wants to make sure that he gets at least 1 draw when he deploys it, so he doesn't want to play it into open resource. Now, playing the Gundam is a really strong point here, because if he puts the armor under there, he's going to be able to break Relula and still get a attack through with Barbatos Adept. And that's probably just the play here, because once he does that, you can't just one-tap it with improved technique. It's too far above that. Adept is also too healthy to do that with. So he's going to give himself a fair amount of longevity not being able to hit, have any of his stuff be just erased off the board. And getting rid of a Banshee, you love to see it from Jay's point of view, because generally, like the game 1, Jay's going to have a very much so tall cushion of shield cards, and Jace needs a card like Banshee to clear that gap.
And now Jason going to have to try to figure out a way to win this game 3 without one of his premier units. You still have other copies that you hope to get to pair with Marita, but you never like to see your big bodies triggering out of the shields there. I do really like for Jay here this usage of the RX-78 and Amuro link compared to game 2. If we go back to it, both times he linked it, he had to trade it and to go right into the trash. This time it gets to stick on the field. It has no damage on it, so it's going to be very tough for Jace to be able to ping it down from full health in 1 turn. And so that means you're going to most likely get another crack at the shields the following turn, especially if he plays a base.
Yes. And one of the crazy parts about this particular game that's showing Jay's level of play, when it comes to the red-blue and its control matchup, your job is to make sure that you are 1-for-1ing with your opponent until you get to the point where you can play your large bodies and start 2-for-1ing and controlling the flow of the game. Right now, what we are showing, and this is actually really good, because I think he has he can't really play Kasi Gundam right now, so yeah, that's a little rough. But right now, what we are currently seeing, actually, can he? I'm trying to see. No, he's going out for the Kshatriya, I think. But Jay has shown a masterful job of trying to present boards that Jace cannot one for one. And where blue red control loses is when your opponent can enter turns with two bodies on the board already, because then you're likely only responding to one card for one card in your hand. Meanwhile, they're doing damage, they're pushing into your shields, and you start losing that exchange. Jay has provided turn after turn that his opponent could not just play a singular card and get rid of a singular body. It already has had to get some work in. It's already had to do what it needs to do, and then it has to be addressed. So this is a loss of momentum.
Whoa, passing without playing any units here, just wanting to keep all of those resources up for on defense. What do you think about that?
I think that that's the position that Jay has forced Jace into. Jace could Kshatriya, but if he Kshatriyas, what is he doing? He has to attack into a Barbatos Adept, and then he has to actually go into the Gundam. And right here, he's saying that this Gundam does way too much. It needs to go off the board. But this is exactly the worst nightmare of a blue-red control player, and this is exactly what Jay wants to see. You didn't use one card to get rid of one unit. You had to use two cards to get rid of one unit. And that's an economy that you love to see. That's a trade that Jay will take every single turn if he could.
And I guess it would have been the same way if he did play out the Kshatriya and, the Kshatriya and linked it with Marita. It still would have been two cards, right, that you're exchanging. You lose that valuable pilot, lose that valuable unit just for a little bit of ping damage and to trade into the RX-78. Jay did play out Barbados first form and another RX-78 on his end with still one resource up. Now I believe Jace is on level 7, would have access to or might be would have access to the full combo to be able to play Hathaway Noah down afterwards as well. But that would be your whole turn, and then you'd have no combat remaining on your opponent's turn, which would be a little bit tough. So going to play out the base instead. Does have a pretty solid hand advantage, but at this point it's still a fully EX base intact versus two shields.
Yes. And also, when it comes to this, what we're seeing here, he didn't want to, yeah, like you said, he didn't want to use C Gundam because he wouldn't be able to actually clear as much as he wants to. At least here, he's going to be able to clear up the Barbatos, and he's going to be able to swing into the Adept, trying to just stem the bleeding of advantage that he's going through. He still has the C Gundam saved for later, and he also has Hathaway Noah there as well. So later, he's probably just going to be able to just swing over the Gundam, or better yet, deal 3 damage to it with Kasi Gundam, and then finish it off if it's not linked yet with a Kshatriya swing. But this is still a precarious position. Jay's hand is very healthy. As you can see, he has Mikazuki, so he's able to actually trade with this Kshatriya while drawing a card to replace it. This is just a very rough place. Actually, if he wants to keep the Gundam, he could just play out Angsha and just attack into the Kshatriya just to rid it. And that's just a strong play. With only one resource and it being the EX resource, he doesn't have to worry about close combat or anything. But he's opting to put 3 damage onto the mining asteroid, and I think he's just going to go for the draw here with Barbatos in a second. But getting this, you know what? This is even stronger. He has the
with the 1 damage, right? And then you have Barbados Adapt doing another damage, putting it onto your own RX-78 with Repair 2 at the end of every turn, Healing 2. So it's essentially free damage, and then one more pilot with Mikazuki going under the Adapt there. That's the extra damage needed. Kshatriya is down.
Yeah, I was halfway through that play, and then I just looked at his hand. I was like, "Oh, that's an Adept. This is cooked." Yeah, so it's we pretty much dealt 5 damage to this Kshatriya, getting rid of the entire body while not actually touching the advantage here. Getting rid of that as well, the asteroid, and now with the shields pretty much down. I mean, metaphorically and literally, you're just going to be able to play out the Barbatos first form, and just telling your opponent, get rid of it. Sure. Like, I have more than enough bodies to game you right now, and you really have to pull some magic out of the hat. Now, with all of that on the board, we are looking at a Kasi turn, with Hathaway being able to be piloted under it. But the question is, will it be enough?
Yeah, because at what point there are Jace does have 2 shields remaining, so you can hope that one of them is a base really. But besides that, you're really just hoping on hope at that point. It's not a reliable strategy to go down on. And there is you see Gundam and the link with Hathaway Noah and be able to attack one of the so dealing the 3 damage from the
Yep.
deploy, and then now Hathaway Noah is able to attack one of the other bodies on Jay's end, but you only have 2 regular resources and 1 EX remaining. So if you trade your body into, I guess you can go into Adept because it has such low HP, or maybe you go for the Barbados first form. But either way, I just don't know how much Jace can have available on the defense next turn with such few resources remaining.
Yeah, so there's a couple of routes here. The close combat is obviously going to go into the first form just to make sure it can't ever get pinged and then attack for damage. But you swing on the Gundam because not only will Gundam be able to revive, and it's just a good bank for pinging with the repair on it, but it's also only doing 3 damage back to you, whereas the Adept is going to do 4. So just doing his best to clear up. But this is a scary position to be in simply because we have at any point he could just top deck a Corsica base and this game might be over. So we are desperately looking for a Marita on Jace's side. A Marita would be a great way to clear up this board, but also we need another base because we are getting dangerously close to the if I get a link, I win the game on the spot territory for Jay. And now between Adept being here, he has the ability to swing into shields or the Sea Gundam, but swing into shields is the brighter moment just because of the fact, oh, okay, well, burst comes off the top rope again. You love to see it, or you hate to see it. Look, it's going to put 4 damage or 3 damage on that. Actually, yeah, it's going to put 3 damage on it, and since it didn't damage itself initially, it has 5 HP. So that's just really a rough position. It didn't even get rid of the Adept, but now, if he wants to, he can play out Lupus and start really trying to tag Kasey Gundam. But
We'll
he's
actually
offering
just
to
play
pass.
first form and leave all of those resources up. Maybe Jay does not want to reveal that he has Lupus in hand on this turn because you can wait for another turn later down to put all of those Tekkanen units back under or into the deck. Finally, there you go. Round of applause. Jace has finally taken out Jay's EX base in this game. So now they're starting to get some motion on the red-blue side, playing out the Kshatriya here. The deploy as well, being able to ping out Adept for that last HP that it needed. So now it's just first form on Jay's side.
Yes. Okay. So this is a crazy, crazy play. He left that on the board because if Kasey Gundam swung into it, they would trade, and so he just wanted to make sure that could happen. Now this is a crazy little bit of a draw because he drew the Ryusei Go, allowing him to ping Barbatos and get a card draw. And he's really right now looking for a link. Now, his opponent, once again, having all of his resources but his EX resource tapped, he's not in a position to do anything. And playing the Ryusei Go, drawing and immediately discarding the Amuro. Because if he attacks with his Barbatos and sees something like, I don't know, if he sees something like just a Mikazuki, the game is over right then and there. If he sees something like a Show of Resolve, the game may not be over, but we're definitely in a much better position. So attacking, getting the draw is Barbatos' 4th form, and he gives his opponent a Hathaway. Not closing out the game yet, but he has a 4 life lead, and once again, or 4 shield lead, and once again, it's just a matter of time. There just needs to be a singular turn at this point where he doesn't see a base, doesn't leave, and he doesn't clear all the bodies, and this is pretty much over. So we're seeing the playing of the Barbatos Lupus just to provide a body that's probably going to be hard to burn, but also he's counting his Tekkanen cards because it's only going to take 6 to get rid of Kshatriya right now.
Yeah, so for every 3 Tekkanen cards you put back, you can activate main. You can do 2 damage to one of your opponent or enemy units there. So putting another 3 back there to take out Kshatriya. And now with the unit advantage as well, right, as the shield advantage, take up 3 units to 2 on Jace's end. It's just so it's just so overwhelming that you don't even care on Jay's end that you have 1 card in hand.
Yeah, bro said, you know what? I got some ping of my own, you feel me? And he ended up just removing the Kshatriya. And that's a powerful play. Like I said, just getting a stronger body out that's going to hit and then like just be able to remove a threat like that is crazy. And now we're sitting on this other side. We get a close combat. That is not enough to close out this game. He needs to remove everything that his opponent has. And right now, he can only feasibly remove 2 bodies. He's going to be able to remove the Barbatos by attacking into it, and he's going to be able to remove the Ryusei Go by using close combat. But what he will not be able to do is remove the Barbatos Lupus. And therein lies the problem. Now, I do believe Hathaway does allow you to attack into a already damaged unit, but the only way he's damaging a unit is by playing out the close combat on not the Ryusei Go. So no matter how he cuts it, he can only rid his opponent of 2 bodies. He has and to. He can either. I'm sorry.
This is one of the only matchups that your opponent doesn't have blockers to play out, right? Jace does not have any blockers to stall this out.
But yeah, that's kind of how the cookie crumbles. He can either close combat the Barbatos and then link with Hathaway on Kasee Gundam and attack into the Barbatos, if I'm not mistaken, or he can just use the close combat on the Ryusei Go and then attack into the Barbatos, leaving his Kasee Gundam with 1. You don't dare attack into the shields right now, although it doesn't really make much of a difference. And this is just that moment where, unfortunately, you're just looking at the way the board is set up, and you just realize this is the end of your Top Cut run. His hand is physically, there's no more shields, and his hand is actively incapable of assessing the entirety of the board. He needed that Marita.
That I was just saying. I was just thinking the same thing, Yudi. If Jace was able to top deck a Marita, maybe there's a different world here. Maybe there's some different lines because there is Kshatriya in hand, right? So you would have close combat for the Ryusei Go, and then you'd also have the Marita and Kshatriya link to take care of the Barbatos first form, but then still, blockers and still Lupus being such a big unit, it still probably is really tough to get through.
So if I'm not mistaken, I'm just pulling up the starter deck, Flash of Radiance. I just want to read Hathaway real quick. When it comes to Hathaway, what units? Okay, so if he had, because I believe he has max resources, if he had the Marita in hand, he could have played Banshee Marita. He could have played close combat on Barbatos, and that's the win from Jay. That's the win from Jay. I'll discuss more of this after that. But Jay definitely got that just by attacking once. I was saying if he did have the Marita in hand and the Hathaway in hand, the close combat could have pinged Barbatos, Lupus, down to whatever, just putting damage on it. After putting that damage on it, he could have then put Hathaway under Kasee Gundam and attacked into Lupus, clearing it. Then you have the Banshee Gundam coming out, shuffling, pinging the Ryusei Go down to 0, and then you could either first strike the Barbatos, and then you still have 2 attacks. You have the Kasee Gundam that's damaged, and the second Banshee attacking the shields. But that's La La Land. He needed the Marita though. If he got the Marita, he was going to survive another turn unless he gave his opponent a pilot. But that was strong. His opponent was able to essentially just get there. Jay was able to last long enough, and at the end of the day, body tempo is very important in Gundam. He was able to play out enough units, and his opponent only had so many responses, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, and congratulations, Jay, moving on to the top 4 here at the Gundam Card Games World Championships. Credit where credit's due too. We were discussing the sidebar, Junie. We were saying, do you need the top end? Are you just trying to go full throttle? And the Barbatos, the Lupus actually was really huge there, being able to use its effect to take care of Kshatriya.
He had to make sure that his opponent did not have the opportunity to top deck into a valid pilot and then go from there. Because while Kshatriya can be paired with, I believe, Cyber New Type or New Type, and then still get the double ping, so Hathaway is an option. There's a lot of cool things that Jay did, and he showed his mastery of this game by playing that. But yeah, congratulations to Jay for moving on to the top 4, and congratulations to Jace to making it to the top 8 with a crafty deck that was meant to cut through the opposition and the reigning kind of terror of the meta being Blurple. So yeah, that was great. Did you have any other thoughts on the game before we close this one out?
No, I mean, I think it played out the way that we're expecting the matches, right? Especially with the addition of the sideboard. You do wonder how, or at least I wonder how Jay's ability to win that matchup without access to the white base like he played in Gutsu, right? Without the Lupus, without the fourth form. I wonder if maybe Jace would have stood a better chance there. But then on top of it, like there's a reason that 8 of the top 16 decks are Blorple in this meta, right? And maybe the sideboards are helping that versatility because you effectively have 60 cards available to you for whichever matchup you want. But I mean, it's on. You called it the Blorple rain. It's you gotta get an umbrella because it's not going to stop anytime soon.
Oh yeah, 100%. For you guys that may be curious, Rain is definitely spelled R-E-I-G. Like Blurple Rain, get it? Because they're king. Yeah, look, it is what it is. I'm crafty.
Put a crown on that Mikazuki, you know?
So no, but that was great. I would implore you guys to make sure that you subscribe to this channel. This is going to be the home for the videos on the coverage for these events and whatnot. So make sure you just subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more Gundam card game content. And yeah, this is one of your hosts, UniX, and my other host.
I'm Joe. I'm the new one on the block. They all know you, Uni. I'm just excited to be a part of this because this is the ground floor. This is the first year of the Gundam card game, and already having World Championship, already having all these great trainers. Like it's only going to go up from here.
Indeed. So thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it, and we will see you in the next round that we cover.